Roxie with Roxie's Broadway Breakdown. Welcome back to my channel where it's always about musical theater. And if you like that, don't forget to click and subscribe. So today I want to talk about musicals for small theaters. A few months ago, I did a video about musicals with small casts. But today I want to talk about if you have a small space or a small theater and you want to do a musical, let me give you some options. So other than cabaret that we all know usually is done in a cabaret type setting, there's some other options. I have seen Sweeney Todd done in a black box theater. Maybe not well, but they did try to get creative with the pie shop and the chair configuration, the way they did the blood. But if you are creative and imaginative, there are some shows you can do with a small space. So Bonnie and Clyde, I love this show. The setup is pretty simple. The set never changes. It was done like on 3 platforms. They got creative with projections. It's a small cast. There's no big dance numbers, so that might be one to consider. Six, the rights are finally released. I know for at least a teen edition, so I can't imagine that rights aren't released for the regular version. I saw this on tour. It's a really easy setup. There was stairs. It's kind of like a pop concert setup. There was really cool like windows in the back, sort of like stained glass, very Tudor style. They did really cool lighting with it. That's not to say that can't be simplified. Trick is you have to have great vocalists, like 6 great vocalists. It's only an hour-and-a-half show, no intermission. There's no hiding behind smoke and mirrors with some of these smaller productions because there's no big sets, big costumes. Well, the queens have cool costumes, but that's the thing. I mean, it's all about the characters and their talent. So just keep that in mind when you are doing a smaller production. The 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. I saw this in a high school gymnasium. And that's kind of where it's set, like in a gym and a school auditorium. So it was just the kids on some bleachers, the table for the judges. They had a microphone. Each kid went up and sang their song. And that was it. There was no big choreography, no big nothing. They had a great band. Pretty simple. So if you want to do something like that. Godspell. I choreographed Godspell it was a larger company and we had a larger stage, so I had to fill it. And I did each parable, well, some of the faster, upbeat, fun parables with like a large choreographed number, like big dance numbers. And we did have a larger cast. So I had to fill it with something. And we did like bigger props and things like that. But it lends itself to being, you could do it on a smaller scale. Just have fun, colorful costumes, maybe a fun backdrop. I mean, as long as you have a good Jesus, a good John the Baptist / Judas, again, it comes down to cast. You could have smaller staging, smaller movement. The music's already fun. Music and lyrics by Stephen Schwartz, who did Pippin and Wicked. So just have fun with Godspell. I think it could be, you know, a fun show for your smaller, intimate theater. Little Shop of Horrors. I originally saw this off-Broadway. Off-Broadway houses are small. They have to be very specifically 999 seats to be considered an off-Broadway house. And Little Shop's a small cast. I mean, and again, as long as you have a good Seymour, Audrey, Orange Scrivello, it takes place in Mushnick's plant shop, the street, get a dentist chair for the dentist, and you have enough space for the big plant. That's pretty much it. I've seen this in high schools as well, community colleges, community theaters. Smaller companies love to do that show. Come From Away. Come From Away was originally done in a bigger house on Broadway, and I saw it on tour, and it was on a larger stage. But this easily lends itself to a smaller production, I think, because it pretty much just takes place in that like tavern in Newfoundland, and then they use like tables and chairs to act out other things. Thing is, it's sort of a big cast, but each actor does portray several characters. So while you might be, you know, somebody from Newfoundland, you're also somebody from maybe New York or Scotland, or trick is the actors have to be seamless with dialects, because you put on a hat and you're from somebody from Brooklyn, and then you put on a scarf and you might be somebody from, you know, Scotland, and then you put on a sweater and you're somebody from Newfoundland. So just mind that when you're casting Come From Away, is make sure they have great voices and they're seamless with their dialects. Hedwig and the Angry Inch. My best friend, I went and saw him when he did this off Broadway. He was phenomenal. But again, it's no set change, just great band, great vocalist, no costume changes. If you have an audience that's, you know, wanting to see something dark, slightly comedic, there are some funny things in it, but it's a dark show, and just a great vocalist. I know Neil Patrick Harris moved this to Broadway. I'm not sure what theater he did that in, if it was bigger, but Hedwig is a small show. And the Fantastics was the longest running off-Broadway show for decades. That I saw that as well off Broadway. I think it's a prerequisite. If you're in theater, you have to see the Fantastics if you get a chance to see it off Broadway. But there's only like 4 characters, and that's just like a staple in any small theater to do the Fantastics at some point. So there you go. I hope you found that helpful, informative. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to click and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next.